to read up on much of anything, especially that church. He's got like a bit of disgust in his mouth.
Yes, the church. Zacharias sighs and sort of leans back. I take it you were not in the good graces of said church, otherwise I suspect you wouldn't have ended up in Brandon's Scar, correct?
I may have accidentally set fire to one of their establishments.
Markas his lips twitch. And says, I see. Well, I am sure it was a vast improvement of the place.
Well, I hope others share your view of that.
Yes. Zacharias looks down at his book. Yes. I wonder what the others are doing. Have you seen them?
No, I just left my room and came straight here. The roaring fire over there is quite delightful for me.
Zacharias looks over at the fire. Ah. I see, yes, you do look like you have a affinity for the element. And you see actually in Zacharias' eyes not a disgust, but certainly something like unsettles him when he looks at the fire. He doesn't seem very pleased. But you also get the sense that he's struggling mightily to sort of conceal this dislike for the fire.
Azureus will just look at you, tilt his head a little bit. I see it's not your affinity, however.
Zacharias will stiffen and sort of sit a bit more straight. You see all the sort of traces of feeling sort of disappear, sort of drains from his features, and he becomes cold as onyx on his features as he looks about. He sort of swallows. I do not work with the element. I prefer something more controlled.
The flame can be controlled, though if not proper, will cause some collateral, as shown by my accident. I understand.
At the word collateral, you see sort of a momentary flash of what might be intense hatred in Zacharias' eyes, but again it disappears very quickly. You're not quite sure you actually saw it. But he will abruptly stand up and pace from the book, sort of his coat, flapping behind him as he walks up to one of the windows and sort of crosses his arms behind his back and look out over the moor, and you see him sort of take a deep breath to try to calm himself down.
Eventually, Cairen will get bored of waiting in his room because nothing seems to be happening. So he will order one of the slaves to lead him to the common room as well. And once he spots Zacharias and Azureus there, he will say, "Hey, isn't this great? I could really get used to this. Like, look." And he will point at the slave and tell, "Slave, jump." And the slave jumps. And for some reason, Cairen finds this very hilarious. And he has a huge smile on his face.
Azureus, that stands close to Zacharias, can hear him mumble, "Simple pleasures for a simple mind."
You'll see a smirk on my face before I turn towards Cairen. Well, you're making the best of the facilities here, it seems.
Well, Kash will come into the room with one of the slaves under her arm, kinda, holding hands with her. She comes in, "Gentlemen, have you been sleeping? Good, I hope."
Oh, well, if it isn't Lady Kash. Zacharias' eyes wander to the female slave, and sort of he quirks an eyebrow. "And I thought you talked about my meeting with the good mistress in such belittling terms. It seems that you have availed yourselves of the pleasures of the flesh quicker than I did." He sort of smirks and looks out over the moors again.
Kash looks at Raith. "Don't be like that. I wouldn't give myself to her. She only gives me warmth where I need it."
Indeed.
Besides, she's a pretty thing. Reminds me of someone I know.
Zacharias, you see again Zacharias' jaw sort of clench for a second, but he keeps looking out over the moor.
Have any of you seen the knight?
Not since we all left him. Kash looks at her slaves. Where's the knight? Manaki.
Manaki has left. Oh.
The slave will explain that he's still in his room, as far as she knows.
Thank you. There, you got your answer.
I must say, though I do not personally ever really have a need for slaves, I prefer to do work myself, they are useful.
Of course they're
Oh, yes,
useful.
they are.
Well, I like her. She's nice to look at. And she gives me what I need. Kash looks at the slaves and smile only for me, not these guys.
The slave will nod and do so.
So who made Raith in a bad mood? What happened to you? Didn't get the bath or the food? That's a weird reply.
Zacharias makes a strange noise as he flutters out of the window and flies away over the moors.
That was unexpected.
Zacharias doesn't...
Azureus will do in response to that is just put out one arm towards you with a little flame floating on it and put it away before sort of curiously looking at some of the books.
Cairen looks at Zacharias, looks at Kash, shrugs. I guess all wizards are like that.
Just for note, Azureus is staying like within earshot of you guys. He's just looking at the books like close by.
Zacharias slowly turns around and looks at Cairen.
Cairen is not aware of any insult, because he might not have meant it as an insult, but you might not know that.
Could you again please describe Cairen for me?
Cairen is, well, how would I best describe Cairen? He's quite large, quite muscular, and obviously has a very high priority of looking just menacing, and well, he has a big focus on looking, on his looks and his body mostly. His clothing, not so much. He doesn't need decoration or jewelry. He needs clothing that has form over function, function over form rather. So while he might look quite ordinary, you see in his stance and his behavior that he obviously thinks quite high of himself, that he is almost arrogant in his behavior.
Right. Yes, Zacharias will look up and down at Cairen and say, and you, Master Cairen, you seems to have interesting powers yourself. The ability to sprout claws, no doubt.
Cairen smiles. Oh yes. And much more.
Yes, I did see some of that during the escape of the prison. Tell me, how do you channel your powers?
Well, not like you. I know that for certain. I don't need no books or anything else. I've got the red dragon's blood flowing through my veins, and it gives me all the power I will ever need. And I don't need to, well, read stuff. I can just do it.
Oh, of course. Heavens forbid you would actually have to use your brain for something. Zacharias smiles.
Cairen looks quite angry, but, well, he doesn't do anything else.
The dragon's blood, interesting, yes. That would explain a lot, I suppose.
Oh,
Zacharias shrugs. Oh, don't mind me. You know how wizards are.
well, yes, I suppose. But know one thing, Zacharias. I am occasionally, or mostly rather, a quite pleasant person to be around with. But do not insult me, or you will see what I can do. In the worst manner possible, for you at least. Frowns.
Zacharias's face hardens as well, and again, sort of the cold as ice creeps into his features. And he says, "Yes, and the same goes for you, Dragon-spawn Cairen. Cross me, and you better kill me with the first attack, because if you do not, you will live to regret it."
Suddenly, Cairen seems to smile. Ah, okay. I see we understand each other. I'm quite happy that we did not meet and think that we are friends. But I think future cooperation might prove, well, interesting.
That is certainly a word to use, but we shall see, no doubt. Know that I do not see you as an enemy,
Cairen nods.
and for the moment, perhaps we should leave it at that.
Very well. As for the rest of you, and Azureus as well, who most likely has been listening.
I've been
Looked at
listening while
Azureus.
looking like I'm looking at the books.
Yeah, Cairen should certainly
Well,
notice that.
Kash has been listening too, but
Well, after
pretending
your
she's looking at her very beautiful slave.
After
Well.
a conversation, he just goes actually back to looking at books. So.
I am gonna add a picture of her. So
Okay.
to make you all jealous. Because she's mine.
Well, as long as the rest of you treat me like I deserve, we will not have problems. But cross me, as Zacharias would have said, and we will. And he suddenly seems to become quite merry. But isn't this situation much better than the prison? I could really get used to slaves and food and whatever we need.
I think a general rule is don't cross any of us. We've always shown we have skills.
Cairen shrugs. He clearly only sees Zacharias as a threat right now, as a possible threat, rather. What?
Who has that one?
I had to counter it, sorry.
Mine is better looking.
Really? She's better looking
Yeah.
than Christian Bale? Come on.
Well, in
Okay.
that one, yeah. In Psycho.
Yes, Christian Bale as American Psycho. Oh,
Yes.
one of his best roles ever.
I think I almost died right now. The timing was just very unexpected.
There we go, Kash slave. And she's looking at me, only me,
Of course.
of course. We'll go a step back.
Oh, has the knight graced us with his presence?
Yes.
Does it make his presence known in the common room, or does he just slip in?
He just kind of slips in. He sees there's a conversation going and doesn't want to interrupt. That would only be the polite thing to do.
So guys will turn around again, look at Cairen and says, yes, it is certainly nice with servants and palaces. He looks around, I don't have... and sort of trails off. Sort of maybe losing himself in thought, or maybe deciding that that sentence was not in his best interest to actually end, or fulfill. Oh, fulfill? No, what do you call it? carry on to its proper ending. Ah, well, if it isn't the good Sir Knight.
Yes, hello.
I do not
I-
believe we were ever properly introduced.
No, of course not. I was just being cautious, and I would gladly like to introduce myself now as Markas Thornblade, follower of Asmodeus and foe of the church.
I say, that is a bold statement these days. I do not believe the followers of Asmodeus are, it looks around, they don't seem to be in the place of prominence they once were. I take it you are a new convert.
Within the last year or two, yes. Originally, I was a paladin of the light, but I fell from grace.
How very interesting. Tell me, how would a paladin of light fall from grace like that?
It starts slowly for many, and others, it simply takes the murder of a clergyman.
I see. And my guess, given your ferociousness on the battlefield, is that it was the latter option that caused your lapse of faith, let's say.
A combination of both, you might say, with the latter being the product of the former.
Ah. Yes, I think I see the scenario in front of me. Well then, Sir Knight. Sir Thornblade. Since you perhaps have walked these halls more, in a way we have not, have you noticed anything interesting of this place?
I am not quite as observant as you seem to be. If there's anything that I've noticed, I'm sure you've noticed it as well.
Zacharias looks at the others. Me and the good Azureus here have done a bit of discussing of the the ogre we sprung from prison, and thinking of what perhaps should be done with him.
Kash interferes here and looks at the party and says, I know where the ogre is. I had a tour.
Oh, where is the ogre?
He sees... the slaves see him as a tool, so he has his own room
I see.
where they keep him.
I think that is an apt description of him. He is a tool, and one that could be forged. As I've said to Azureus, I have not the patience for his brutish type, but perhaps Sir Thornblade or Dragonspawn Cairen here would like an apprentice. And Zacharias smiles.
Cairen shakes his head. Forged? He was a liability at best. He might have helped us, but I think his usefulness has been expended. I don't think we need to, or we should worry about him at all.
Perhaps.
If he's a tool, we can just discard him and get something better.
Perhaps, but then we might try to find something better first before throwing it away.
Cairen shrugs.
Zacharias also shrugs a bit. It was a thought.
I agree.
He does owe us for springing him. And yes, his prowess in battle, even though it is brutish, could be put to good use in the future. Who knows? However, it seems to be more a project for Sir Thornblade or Azureus then. It matters not to me. But I am loath to throw away something useful
Do not discard your tools before they are
Sure.
fully used.
Sure, Kash will take some water. I don't know how you guys do that.
Well, I have create water spells, so I can literally just create water for you.
Yeah, but how do you do that? Declines and...
What?
Oh, /me command. So
Oh, yeah.
You can also right-click your token and select impersonate.
no, she means the green stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been using those two commands. /me and /out of character.
Slash out of character automatically adds the parentheses. I've just been writing them.
Oh, that's... Okay, that's interesting.
Magic!
The wizard has interfered!
Zacharias will slowly turn again and look out over the moors, seemingly lost in thought.
Cairen will say to nobody in particular, "So, has our mysterious savior shown his face yet?"
Not that I have seen. And none of the slaves know anything.
You hear what sounds like a very light bell ring, sort of in the hall outside.
Kash looks at her slave and says, "Explain."
The mistress is coming.
Thank you. There you have it.
Convenient timing.
In the hall outside, you see the good Lady Theodora arrive. She's still dressed in the white gown, quite beautiful. She looks. Her demeanor, though, is more one of a boredom and a wish for something to happen, perhaps maybe a little bit sinister. She smiles at you. Are you all ready? That
Ready?
matters not now. Follow me. Says she simply turns and begins to walk.
Cairen follows.
Kash follows, and Kash slaves follows Kash.
Zacharias has a look on his face that seems to tell anyone that is observing him that he does not appreciate being called like some sort of dog or servant. And such he will, perhaps in a petty act of defiance, stay sort of until being the last person to leave the room before he sort of follows suit.
Azureus notices you don't move, but, you know, just moves right past you with his cloak moving in the breeze.
Walk down the hallway and reach a large sort of dark wooden door. And your door steps aside. Just step in.
Cairen looks at Theodora for a minute and then steps in. And
As you follow,
what
Theodora
exactly do we
simply
see?
looks at Kash slave with a sort of a little disgusted and says, "Scamper away." And the slave does.
Markas will enter.
Kash just shrugs and goes in.
As you enter the office, which clearly is, you see a very richly decorated, dark, sort of wooden table. There are nice tapestries all over the walls, and sitting in a leather high-backed chair is a devilishly handsome fellow who smiles at you as you enter. "I believe you to be the first to ever escape from Brandiscar prison. Well done. Of course, you had the help from outside," he says with a wicked smile.
Cairen smiles. Yes, but I'm quite sure we would have gotten out otherwise as well. Though your help, which I assume was your help, did make things easier.
Gestures for you to take place in front of him.
As Cairen said this, he was behind Cairen, so Cairen wouldn't notice this, but he kind of looked just like disgusted at him a little bit for being that cocky, but yeah.
Raises his hand and Karen's words. Enough pleasantries. You must be curious for why I helped you.
Yes, I assume it was not from the goodness of your heart.
Rest assured, I have brought you here for a reason. My name is Cardinal Adrastus Thorn. I am the last High Priest of Asmodeus left on the island of Talengard. Once the High Priest and High Prince of Nessus was rightly revered along the other great powers. Now the King of Talengard has become a puppet to Mitran fanatics who wish to destroy any religion that does not inspire their sun god. I've brought you here because their blasphemy, and for what they call blasphemy, for which you have imprisoned, will be changed. I understand that what you went through. I have faced it myself. He pulls up his robe and reveals that he also has the F branded into him. I'm going to burn Talengard to the ground, and from the ashes I will build a new nation that knows its rightful master. I, however, cannot do this alone. I seek servants worthy of our infernal father's mastery. Have I found them in you? So it looks all the way up. Join me. Serve me well in this holy endeavor, and I will raise you up in the eyes of gods and men. I will make you princes of the new Talengard. Today, swear loyalty and fealty to me and to Asmodeus. Put aside forgiveness, and I shall give you vengeance. Put aside mercy, and I shall make you powerful. Put aside peace, and become my harbingers of war. What say you? Will you swear allegiance, or will you burn with the rest of the blind fools? This is your chance for redemption. Smiles at you, catching each of your eyes. As he sort of looks in your eyes, it is as if he knows you very well. I have studied each of you for quite some time. You have each been selected, and here you are. Here you are. A stroke of luck. Through our luck, I suppose, that you got this far. But it was my first test. Now, you're here. You're here for revenge. You're here to recover what was lost. You're here to achieve your full potential, or simply not to be where you were. You're here to serve your infernal master. You're here to become what you always wanted to become, or to find the reason for why you are as you are. All these things, all the answers, all the goals, all the pleasures, all your wishes will be fulfilled if you serve me and our infernal master in your best possible way.